Timelines and news feeds have had its fair share from the information coming from the streets of Nigeria. Pictures and images depicting the uproar, the violence, and some of the deaths on the streets of Nigeria. This is Matters Arising, and I am Mizia Africa. With me in the studio today is the president of Young Africans Network for Global Goals. He is an SDG advocate. Mr. Collins Ibauchi, please say hello to the viewers.
Hello everyone, good morning. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, it's very sorry for bringing you out of the the room for advocacy, and we are actually glad to have you in the studio today.
Thank you.
All right, there has been the societal unrest. The streets of Nigeria has known no peace for some days now, due to the taking to the streets of the youth, the young adults, in some places ahead the children and women as well. Owing to the fact that they are agitating for the ending of police brutality in Nigeria. To you, in your opinion, what do you say, or what would you say is the reason for these particular activities?
Yes, about the protests. Protesters have gotten into this place. You see yourself being unduly harassed by persons who are believed to be the people to save your lives when you fall into trouble. Now we see ourselves being harassed. Now in Nigeria is a taboo for you to have an iPhone. I made a post a few weeks back. I asked them, different nations have gone into virtual world. Different nations now, students in different institutions receive online lectures. Most offices no longer come openly, rather they do their work from their homes. But here in Nigeria, when you have a laptop as a young person, you are being targeted. There is this undue assumption that all persons that have an iPhone in the country are either in online scam or they are trying to engage in activities that doesn't contribute to societal development. But I told them that this is an archaic belief, because the world has moved. Yes. Technology has taken over, but the Nigerian society and the Nigerian government in particular are not seeing the future with us. So protesters have the right.
Talking about the Nigerian government, I think the government is actually buying into the business of digitalization, which has has made them to establish a lot of ICT foundations and a lot of empowerment program for youths as well. But I am actually talking about the situation with the police force.
Okay.
The units called the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. Yes. This agitation is basically for them, right?
Yes.
Now the issue is, are they supposed to be the ones who are checking for cybercrime? Because it looks like that is their basic activity. That's their basic responsibility in the society now. Now, is it a misinformation or misappropriation of responsibility on their own part?
Well, when looking at this, the problem is for the system. We have a system, and we have a place where we have proliferation of offices, right? We have different offices who have the specific content to tackle cybercrime and cyber fraud. But because these systems are ineffective and non-functional, that's why the police, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, are now taking it upon themselves to take over. But a right-thinking government, like I used to say, is a right-thinking government, what you are supposed to do is call these guys to order. This is not the jurisdiction of their work. Yeah. When someone is called into office, when you are being sworn in as a member of parliament or as a government official, basically you are being given more like a prospectus, more like a guideline of the work you are expected to do or the work you are expected to carry out. Yeah. But the problem is, we have commissions and parastatals who of course don't understand the jurisdictions of their work. We have people who are appointed to do nothing, basically by default. These days, I don't want to go into the politics played in appointing persons, the politics played in selecting people who work in different places. But let's get something clear. Most persons that work in different commissions basically don't understand what they are doing. So when purpose is not known, just like Mike Moro said, abuse is ineffective. The purpose of their work is not well defined. So there must be an abuse.
All right. Do you have a personal experience with this particular set of people?
Yes, I do. Okay. That's why I've been shouting a long time ago. I had this same experience in 2018. Good thing, 2 years ago. So we're not talking of something that happened recently. When I and some of my colleagues were traveling for a work we have, and we were traveling outside the state. But because the bus was carrying a lot of us young persons, and we were quite enterprising. Most of us had iPhones. Most of us have tablets because it was a digital service we were going there to provide. We were stopped on the way. We were kept for 1 hour. They were ransacking our phones, checking our laptops, trying to find something to implicate us. But fine and good. Not everybody is a cyber criminal, just as we can say that. Not everyone. So by the time they finished their searching, they ended up by telling us, what are you going to give us? So hilarious. So they ended up telling us, what can you give us as compensation? We were like, what kind of compensation do you need? You ended up searching us, you ended up wasting our time, yet you are demanding for a settlement for a crime we don't even know what it's all about.
This protest, first of all, was staged on the 8th of October, and I think a day after, the government made some, it got to them, and some persons made some statements, and then I think the same day, or not too far from the second day, the IG of police made an announcement about the dissolution, abolishment of SARS. Okay. I feel that's not enough for the protesters, because till date the protest is still ongoing in different states. So what could be the dissatisfaction of the protesters?
All right, it is like when the IG of police made that pronouncement, it was so hilarious, very funny. We changed the container and and refused to change the contents. Are we thinking at all? We changed the nomenclature, but we didn't change the persons inside. The reorientation we've been talking about hasn't been done. We changed from SARS to SWAT. So those moving from SARS to SWAT, are they new persons? Are they new recruits?
I think the police said that the persons who are going to be in the SWAT are actually going to undertake some level of training. And then they are not going to be the same people. I guess that was what I was
so they are not going to be the same people.
Yeah.
So the persons who happen to be members of SARS, where will they be kept? Are they going to be paid off? Are they going to be laid off? Which aspect of the police unit will they be taken into? That is what we have to understand. And this is Nigeria, where we make promulgations, where we make assertions without proving backings. So we just say them just to satisfy public opinion, just to satisfy the public who happen to be listening. But we don't go back to restructure. Now, we talked about an airplane. Okay, I'm just so sorry, I'll have to deviate a bit. Remember, this government talked about a carrier, that Nigeria is going to be having a carrier. And of course, we used billions and millions to develop the logo for this same carrier. Yeah. Now, where is this particular carrier? For God's sake, this is just an assumption we make from the blues just to get public accolades. But we don't go in depth to correct the menace that is already happening. My problem is that they changed SARS to SWAT, but we didn't change the content in the container. So it is still there. So young people, we have come to a level where we are now reasoning.
Okay, so
before we've been sleeping, but now we are reasoning. Scrap it, all of it. If you are laying them off, let's see the list of persons who have been laid off. Let's see the list of people who happen to be in SARS. How many persons are in SARS?
So are you saying the IG of police made a mistake by changing the name, or made a mistake by declaring it's an end? Or I want to understand.
Well, the IG of police in the first place. I'm so sorry, Mr. IG, but I'm just trying to say the mind of the youth in case you are listening. I know you will, anyways. The problem is, sir, you happen to be so wrong in making that promulgation so fast. Now, before we create a parastatal or before we create a unit, first of all, investigations must be done. Second, we have to look at what exactly do we need? What can serve the public? What is of the best interest of the public? We need to come to that understanding, and we need to come to that level. So it was just made within a twinkle of an eye. Okay, guys, you people are protesting against SARS. Okay, fine, let's just remove SARS and give them SWAT. Very simple. All you needed was for us to remove SARS. Now we remove SARS and we've given you SWAT. But the ideology of the SWAT is what we are talking about. What is the ideology of the SWAT that you are bringing in? What is their modus operandi? What is the working capacity and the working ability and the working structure of this same SWAT? You didn't tell us that.
I am not the IG of police.
Yeah, sure.
I am not the DIGP. I am not the PPRO. I am only saying because you saw the tweets when they said they were going to unveil a new unit that will take up the cybercrime activity, that will fill in the space that's been taken away.
Yes.
And I believe the IGP, the PPRO also made a publication about the activities of this new SWAT that are going to be established. So I believe it has not been instituted, but it was a way of informing Nigerians that something like this is coming up, and there are the laid down guidelines and processes to establish them. So I don't know, what do you have to say about that?
Okay, with regards to your question, I wouldn't want to say I am giving up on this society called Nigeria, but we are still part and parcel of this nation. But can you boldly tell all Nigerians how many investigations that this government started and they finished it with a strategic report to the nation? How many of them? How many crimes? We talked about whistleblowers, we talked about persons who have embezzled funds out of this nation. How many of these investigations have been concluded? Are we asking ourselves those questions?
Okay.
So the police coming to make promulgations is not enough. That is where I'm driving at. It's not enough to tell us you are dissolving this unit, setting up this panel, getting this, getting that. The end point is what we are looking at. This government hasn't, for the first time, we've not received a promise and then they deliver the same promise. So I'm not trying to attack them personally. I'm trying to talk to them to improve on bringing out the standard of their works.
Be more accountable, right?
Yes, of course.
More transparent.
Yes.
So you're saying that Nigerians and most of the protesters lost faith in the government,
yes,
such as not to believe what it is that is being said.
Yes.
All right. I live and see a lot of hashtags online. First of all, we started seeing EndSARS, which the Twitter CEO has been able to do some kind of algorithm that anytime you type EndSARS as an hashtag on Twitter, you see a hand raising Nigerian flag. So I've seen EndSARS. I'm seeing EndSWAT. That was after the pronunciation, the pronouncement from the IG of police. Then I started seeing End Bad Governance. Then there is also this demand I saw from the protesters, 5 or 5. So I don't know if you know about this.
All right. We want to use one stone to kill different birds. Now, first of all, I support what the Twitter staff and members and all of that, what they did for Nigeria. That's to show that Nigeria is gaining global support, first of all. And secondly is that the hashtag EndSARS, EndSWAT, End Bad Governance, End Police Brutality, I believe that SARS is the major point. If we can solve this problem, then other things will now form shape. Why am I saying this? It's because of the bad governance we are having, that we are having this kind of SARS disturbance in the society. If the government is quite accountable, then this part of the government will become much more better. But because the government is not working, these guys are really doing anything they want to do. So first of all, let's kill this. We can target the rest. So I support the people, but I believe that the people shouldn't lose focus. The major intention is for us to end SARS, end SWAT, whatever nomenclature they give it. We want it to end. Let's have a new phase in the police force. And after that, we can talk about the government. Because when the head is not functioning effectively, basically other parts of the body will lose strategic functions, yes. So if we can solve the problem of SARS first of all, solve the problem of SWAT, then the government will have to become better.
Looking at the statement that the government are not doing anything, we've seen series of sittings, series of meetings, the Senate House sitting, the House of Rep sitting and all that. Is that not, I think that's a reaction from the part of the government, because they can't just come up and make a statement. There has to be a lot of evaluations on the statement and policies to be made before it's been made. What do you think about that?
Well, we can have different sittings. They've been sitting and they will still sit. We have let me just draw us back to what Nigeria looks like, in case for the sake of persons watching abroad. We've had a government since 1960, right? 1963, coming back to the democracy we have, we've been having governments. We've been having budgets, my brother. We've been having padding of budgets. We've been having billions of naira appropriation for the good roads, appropriation for these, appropriating bill for that, but we still have bad roads in Nigeria. We still don't have a running pipe-borne water from the government. Tell me a state that the pipe-borne water is coming from the government, and I'll tell you a state that doesn't exist here. Sorry to say that. We've been having billions of naira coming out from the government. They've been sitting. They've been talking about the roads, but what is the end point of what they have been saying? The effect is not felt. It's not about them sitting to talk about it. It's about them coming out to give us a strategic result and a strategic solution. That is what we are asking for.
So the protesters are asking for a decisive reaction
Yes!
from the government.
Yes! Actions that back the words. We don't need the words. We've had the words for years. This is Nigeria at 60. What have we? We don't even have an airplane called Air Nigeria. We don't even have a working and functional railway. We don't even have a good road to ply on. We only have good roads in, let's just say, in the city of Abuja. Thank you, Jesus, because it's a federal capital territory. Talk about other states, my brother. So we are not talking about a sitting Senate house. We're not talking about a sitting House of Representatives. We're not talking about a sitting governor or whatsoever. We need action backing words.
Okay, so let's look at the situation in Edo State, the prison break.
Okay.
The prisoners who are leaving the prison and coming out. It was labeled on the protesters that they were the ones who, opened up the prison for the prisoners to escape.
Okay.
And what do you have to say about that situation?
Well, here is just a funny place to start with. Now we have, basically, it's no longer prison. They changed it to correctional center, right?
Okay.
It's now correctional center, no longer a prison.
Yeah.
I will get to that. But before I answer your question, let me talk about the correctional center and the prison that it was called before. Just exactly what we are experiencing now. It was one time a prison. They changed it to correctional center, but what are they correcting? Have you been to the prison before? Good thing we've had an outreach in a prison. The skill acquisition centers in most prisons have been scrapped. These guys are not learning any skill there. Now, we called it correctional center, so what are we correcting exactly?
I'm actually talking about the...
I know, I'm going to come back to your question. I want to bring this context in with regards to changing SARS to SWAT. It's now correctional center, but what are we correcting? Have we tried going to so many prisons? What exactly are we doing? So now, getting back to your question. In a prison, we have security guards. It's not that you just open the major prison gates and inmates run out. Inmates have where they stay. So who opened the gates? Have we seen the clip? Have we seen the video of the gigantic gate and the fence that a prison has? So who opened the gate from the inside? Did they use an armored car to break the gate? Did we hear news about that? They didn't tell us that. So how did they penetrate the first gate? How did they get to where the inmates were to bring them out? So if we say that we have prison break, and then for the, I don't know, I don't base my assertions on what I see mostly online. I try to make more inquiries. But from what we are seeing online, we are seeing inmates who are wearing Gucci clothes, nice chain, nice trousers, looking so nice. So are those guys prisoners, or are they how are we going to just put it? So the whole thing is just so fun. We are having a lot of information.
Okay. What basically do you think the protesters are not doing right?
Well, what I believe the protesters are not doing right, I'm a young person, I will talk on that perspective. Destruction of properties is not actually what we have to be doing, all right? But I don't blame them, because the open fire at toll gates is what led to the destruction. Remember, as at this time last week, we had protesters who were just sitting at the toll gate, who were just glamoring and talking to the government about ending SARS and ending SWAT peacefully. And you saw the unity of Nigerian people. You saw that regardless of religion, being Christian, being Muslim, all of us came together, raising the flag of Nigeria, calling on the government to help us out. Help us by solving the problem of police brutality. Is it too much to ask?
Okay, that brings me to a question. How do you see media manipulations? Do you see it as a strategy to, play on the emotions Nigerians?
Well, the media manipulation so far has been so discouraging from my own angle, because in Nigeria we try to politicize almost everything. But one thing is, rest assured, this is not about APC, this is not about PDP, this is about the rightness of things. This is about getting the voice of young people to be heard in the society. This is about protection of our rights, protection of our dignity, protection of our integrity, and protection of our standards. So that is what this fight is all about. So anyone trying to use this as a platform to gain public support, try to gain public accolade for himself, I would say the person is so selfish. The person is being egocentric in this, because this is not about an individual. Yeah. This is about the welfare of youths in the society. So whatsoever anyone wants to do with this is so uncoordinated.
It is becoming an issue because you find out a situation where I am in the field and then I see different things happen. You come online, you see different things happen, different things being published online, and you're like, how do we even? It doesn't give the people at home or people online the right platform to know the particular reactions to take at a particular time. Take for instance the situation in Edo State. Protesters who were present at that point of action said they were just passing, and then online you see situationships like the protesters were going into the prison, the prison house to break in, and the whole manipulation makes it difficult for the right reactions or actions to be taken. I don't know, how do you think Nigerians should manage this situation?
Well, the problem in Nigeria is we have a loose-ended policy. We would have said, let there be fact check. But when this government brings such, they will stop public opinion. That's the problem. There was a time this particular issue came on board where they wanted to censor the media. People clamored and people spoke against it because this government, basically the government, not particularly this one, a lot of times we have government is quite based on SSCs. When we give them such platform to do that, basically none of us will be talking, we can't be having this interview. So, but what I think, what I believe should be a better thing to do is, before you go into action, do not base your judgment on what you've seen online. Try to make inquiry. Try to carry out research by calling people who you know that stay in those places. Try to put a call across. Get information from people, not just basing the judgment online. Because I've seen a state where someone said, oh wow, they are looting homes, they are taking things from shops, so let me break down this shop and start taking. But this might be an action that happened, let's just say 3 to 4 years ago. And then we are trying to use that same issue to judge what is happening now. So before you go into action, try to do a fact check by calling on phone, try to know exactly people in those areas, call them, get the information for yourself.
Okay. I think there is constitutional provision for adequate deployment of security for protesters in order to maintain peace and order.
Yes.
Now, looking at the situation in from the Lekki toll gates in Lagos State, that of the Edo situation, Ondo, and some other places that this protest has degenerated to violence, do you think the blame should go to the protesters and citizens, or should it be to the security agencies for failing to provide adequate security for this ongoing protest?
So before you go out to protest, you first of all get clearance from the police. And for that of Lagos, we saw what Babangida Sanwo-Olu, who happened to be the governor of Lagos State, came out to join protesters. And he came out with his security. So what I'm asking is, who called in the shot?
Okay.
Who called in the shot? What are we doing? Well, nobody has responded to that. And this same governor of Lagos State went to visit the injured protesters the next day after the shooting. So for him to visit, if you are the one that called in an action and you are visiting the person who's injured, it doesn't balance. Who's calling in the shots? And news carried it that he said he happened not to be aware of the shooting. So who shot? Who called those that shot? So we still need to answer those questions. So the security personnel aspect is so funny, because when protesters protest, you have security guard around them to make sure that there is peace and order. Okay. And there has been orderliness ever since. You saw Nigerians bringing solar panel to charge phones. You saw people bringing food to help out those who happen to be hungry. It has been peaceful, for God's sake. So the shooting and all of that, I wouldn't want to go in depth into that, but we need to ask some questions, and those questions need answers. Because almost all the government officials that visited the toll gate came with their security personnel. There was police around, so who shot? And why did they have to shoot? So we need to answer that question and bring it down to earth. All right, thank you.
Considering the current state of the nation, considering the activities that are going on currently, the violence and everything that is going on in the nation currently, what do you think can possibly jeopardize this revolution, or should I say, this movement that is ongoing?
When the revolution is being converted into a political activity, that is when we will jeopardize the efforts that we have made so far. It has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with PDP or APC, because before PDP, APC came out, they were once individuals. Yes. So it's about the individuals, it's about the mindset of the government in place. So what would jeopardize the whole thing is where we now take it to be like a political movement, where we are trying to dance to the tone of one political party, leaving the other political party. I'm not a member of a political party, thank God for that. So we would jeopardize all this effort when we turn it into a political movement. Let this be a revolution calling for a new Nigeria, where our voice will be heard, where our birthright will be given to us. Nigeria has all it takes. I repeat, we have all it takes to cater and fend for everybody.
Very true. Very true.
And we just have a few individuals taking the lion's share that would have been for all. So the revolution should be changing the writing on the wall. It's not about PDP, it's not about APC, it's not about any other person.
So you're saying that making it partisan is a factor that can jeopardize the efforts of the protesters?
Basically.
What other factor?
Well, another factor is what would jeopardize is when we bring in violence.
Okay.
Because whatsoever we destroy, we will still rebuild. And good thing, we have a government who is good at saying we used 100 billion and God knows how many billion just to repair a cell phone. So it's so funny, So whatever we destroy, we rebuild. So let's focus on getting the government accountable. There are different ways to get people accountable. We can't destroy what we own, because when we destroy our house, we all live out.
Okay. 2020 has had its fair share at the unfolding of events, and currently as it is the agitation in our nation, but I believe that it will all end in praise. Thank you very much for being with us in the studio today.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with me on today's edition of Matters Arising. We've come to the end of today's edition. Please stay safe, be law abiding, and ensure that you're peaceful in your agitation. Once again, I'm Nizzy Africa, and this is InfoScope Media TV. Bye for now.